Hello, everyone, as I get the right overlay up. There we go. You know, technical difficulties, because why not? Hello, all. It is the day after the 4th of July, a day in which me and my friend Tailed Feature can both revel in our shared mutual historical antipathy for the British.
Well, I mean, technically I'm British, but...
Well, you know what I mean. The English. How's that?
Specifically the English, yeah.
Okay, the English. All right.
It was nothing to do with the Scots. We had no involvement. We have always been oppressed by the English.
Yes. Okay. Well, this is me being a dumb Yankee, and I worked on that intro in my mind for like 10 minutes before we started. So you know, that's what I get for trying to be impromptu. Anyway, hey everybody, it's Monday, and I have the day off because of freedom. And I was talking to Tail this morning, and he was like, you and I should talk sometime. We haven't had a stream chat in a while. I was like, I was just thinking that myself. Well, let's just do it. Okay, let's do it. And here we are.
Impromptu is the name of the game.
Indeed, as with everything on here, because we're so professional as it is.
Absolutely.
So everybody, we're just going to be kibitzing for a bit. This could also turn into a Q&A of a kind. If you have any questions for me or Tailed, or just want to throw something out there for us to discuss. But yeah, so hey, dude, how's it going? Long time no chat.
Yeah, great.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, it's your day off because of freedom. It's my day off because, well, freedom from employment, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Real quick. Thank you, Red Fawn. You can't see it on the screen there, but there is a dancing, happy, lovely dog cat fox right there in the super chat. Smiley, happy dog cat fox. Oh, dog cat fox. How you doing, dog cat fox?
Wow-wee! Wow! Wow!
That's dog cat fox, everybody. Or the new dog cat fox. One of the new dog cat foxes. I've had a couple of my friends record some wowie wow wows for Dog Cat Fox. I'm hoping to get one from Tailed before the day is out, but we'll see.
This is news to me. You can't spring things like that up on me.
Yeah, I know. This was a suggestion by one of my viewers, Sean Uli. He said, you should get people to record some wowie wow wows for Dog Cat Fox. And that's a great idea. I got a couple already. I won't give them all away today necessarily, but I want to see if I can start collecting them from different people. And so just the voices alone will tell people who's doing it. But anyway, so there's that.
I'm so full of enthusiasm, you can tell.
You are built on enthusiasm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was an enthusiastic yes.
Yeah, well, it's called comedy.
I was once described by a teacher as if I was any more laid back, I'd be horizontal. There was that one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if being laid back, if being laid back is cool, then Tailed is in a deep freeze.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had a teacher describe me in any particular way like that. Of course,
usually it was, believe it or not, he talks too much and doesn't pay attention.
Yeah, I could see that too. Now, when he starts saying he's so laid back, he could be blah, blah. I was thinking, he's so laid back, he might as well be a prostitute. I don't
know. I don't think my parents would have been too.
Oh, your parents, schmarents, who cares about that? Whatever. Be a rebel. Don't be tied down by the man.
Not unless they're paying me, is what you're saying.
You got it. So what's new and exciting? Let's get out the easy stuff first. What's new and exciting in the world of YouTube?
Oh, well, my second channel is nearly at 1,000 subscribers.
Yay! A link to that's in the description below, guys. Link to Tailed's channels in the description.
Yes, please go and subscribe because I'm like 2 away from 1,000 or something.
2 away from we can handle that right now, guys. Okay, so everybody, the second link in the description to Scottish Feature, just go click on that and give it a subscribe. We can crest 1,000 before we're outside of this little chat. There you go.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Just be warned, you do see my face on the second channel. Whether
Oh,
that
no.
either entices you or puts you off, I don't know.
You have a lovely face.
Oh, you.
Oh, me.
Well, I've seen your face, and you have a lovely face as well.
Oh, gosh, you're making me blush. So, how's the second channel doing, or what you've been working on for it lately? I've seen your walking tour videos.
Yeah, I'm going to do another one of them this weekend. I'm going away for the weekend to up to the Highlands for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it doesn't absolutely chuck it down with rain or is just completely obscured by cloud. But yeah, that's kind of the perils of living in Scotland, I suppose. But I recorded a video the other day with another YouTuber who came up from England to visit.
Oh,
we did go out for a hike, but if you saw my picture on Twitter,
I did.
well, yes, got to the top of this hill and you literally couldn't see anything. It was just the sky was just white with cloud and fog. So it's usually a lovely view up there if there isn't fog, but.
Is this YouTuber anybody that we would recognize the name of?
Possibly, because she's in the kind of same sphere as Academic Agent and all that kind of thing. So Poe the Person, I don't know if yeah.
She's been on. Has she been on Regional Variations with you?
She has been on there once.
Okay.
Once, and I did do a stream with her on my channel as well. Yeah, she's a decent for a woman. So her and her husband were up for a couple of days. So yeah, that was nice. So I basically recorded a video of her trying to say Scottish place names, which is always fun.
Well, you have now hit 1,000 subscribers on your Scottish feature channel.
I'm just logging in.
Yeah,
check myself.
Yeah, several people and 110 Hammer included to say, like, just so you know.
There we go. 1006. Thank you, guys.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
And I'm still a long way away from monetization levels, but
I don't even know what the prerequisites for monetization are now, because I feel like the oldest of men when I say back in my day you just had to do this and that, but I don't even know what they are now. But like some ridiculous amount of watch hours have to be put in, and
it's 4,000 watch hours. So yeah, 1,000 subscribers though, so that's that part done.
Good. All right.
I'm only a quarter of the way there with the watch hours. So I need to get a viral video or something like that.
Oh, now the video yours that I have watched probably more than any individual thing, just because it's a music video, was your cover of that I forget the band's name, the song about talking on social media.
Oh, I was going to say that's not on the second channel though, is it?
No, it's not. But I was just thinking of
Professional Suicide was the name.
Yeah, it's Professional Suicide. That's what it was. Yeah. Now I don't know what the view count is on that thing, but that thing should have gotten like way tons of views, in my opinion, because that's a great song.
Thanks. Well, I actually put it on private a little while ago because I was trying to see if that affected my monetization on the Tailed Feature channel, because my watch hours on that are pretty decent, and subscriber wise, obviously a lot more than the second channel. So yeah, I think I can check actually how many views it had before I privated it, but it was something like 4,000 views or something like that.
Yeah,
if that.
it should have gotten way more than that. You should go plug that over on your Scottish feature channel and see if it picks up some extra minutes.
Well, I've been trying to avoid the politics on that channel because.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah. I got you.
But yeah, I kind of hoped it would, with it being sort of in the public consciousness at the moment and stuff, it might have done a little bit better than that. But you just don't know. You never can tell.
It was a teenage wedding, and the
Yeah,
old
exactly.
folks wished them
As soon
well.
as I said that,
Yeah.
yeah. As soon as I said that, I thought, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's all. Pulp Fiction soundtrack has ruined me for life. I tell you what.
Oh, I couldn't remember it from that. I just know the song.
Oh yeah, like I always now associate specific songs with like soundtracks for movies or something. Because after Reservoir Dogs, I think Reservoir Dogs was one of the first movie soundtracks I ever like purchased with my own money, kind of thing, when I was younger, and I got it on cassette back when those were a thing. I wore that sucker out. I played that thing so much. I love those songs. And then when Pulp Fiction came out, just about every 90s Tarantino movie I had to have the soundtrack for, because his song selection was just so great.
Well, I didn't care for that film very much.
The Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Oh, well, why?
I know I'm in the minority, but
yeah, you are, which is why I'm curious why.
yeah. I mean, the first time I watched it, and I said to somebody, I didn't really like it all that much.
Mhm.
And to be fair, I was only 15, so probably, nuance lost on me a little bit. And they said, "Oh, you need to watch it again. You need to watch it again." So I did, and I still came away going, I don't know, I just didn't really interest me, I guess. But what can I say? I'm a bit like that. I don't really watch a lot of movies and stuff, so not much of a movie buff.
Well, I was just watching an interview with was it Tarantino and Joe Rogan the other day, and he was talking to him about the effect of Pulp Fiction, and Tarantino's not exactly a humble individual, let's say, but he did say something that was true, I think, in that he mixed in like the gangster film with people talking about sort of referential pop culture stuff in the course of it, which made it kind of unique that you had these characters just talking about random things, and how that became like something that a whole bunch of other filmmakers and directors tried to copy as time went on. And he's like, what? And he asked him, like, why did you do that? And it's like, well, that's just how me and my friends talk. Be sitting around talking about stuff, and we just start talking about movies we liked, or that old TV show, or that episode, or that thing. It's just, and that's sort of how people relate to each other, because there was a period in the 70s and the 80s where we didn't have all this mass media and everything, and there were only so many outlets for pop culture, and there were niches for things, but they were still relatively big niches because everything was so limited. And so if you had your subculture, you really knew your subculture because it wasn't diluted by a bunch of other stuff, and so you could relate to people that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as the internet has basically made everything oversaturated.
Yes. Real quick, thank you, Mighty Balzac. Tell us straight-tailed, are we doomed?
In every sense of the word, yes.
Yeah. I mean, if not by our own hand, then by the sun eventually expanding into a red giant and enveloping us all and burning the earth to a crisp. So, whatever.
Indeed. Just keep it light,
Yeah, just don't dwell on it too much. I mean, no matter what happens, it's all going to go bye-bye.
I mean, I'll be honest. It's only been relatively recently that I've ever seen a Tarantino film that I enjoyed.
Which one was that?
I never liked Reservoir Dogs, any of that sort of stuff. It was only when I saw Django that I thought, I quite like that one.
Django Unchained, yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah,
and then the other day I watched Inglourious Basterds. I quite enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of the reverse. Is that I'm not as big a fan of his more recent movies as I am of his original 3 or 4. Because at the time, like Reservoir Dogs to me was just so cool. It was just so gritty, and it almost played out like a stage play, and the actors were just on point, and I don't know. There's just so many iconic moments from it all. And,
I'm just Palestine. What can I say?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Actually, it was something I wanted to ask. That something came to my mind is after I talked to you this morning. Like I was thinking about when I was trying to come up with that line about us having a mutual antipathy for the English. We just had our Independence Day celebration and all that, and all the, and I'm not disparaging it or anything, but just the requisite American propaganda and, freedom and, celebrating all the things that we consider to be American. If you had to pick a theme for sort of the attitude or the culture of Scotland, how would you describe it?
Oh, geez.
I mean, what do you guys value? Or I mean, I don't even know what it is, because the stereotypical thing here is like freedom, America. You sit around barbecue stuff and blow off your M16 in the air and that kind of stuff, whatever. But
yeah,
I don't know
that and all that.
Yeah, being that, yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah, I can do that. Well, the stereotypes are that we're very frugal, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
Tight-fisted and doer as well. Very sort of, reserved and kind of. Again, we've got these very contradictory stereotypes because at one point, we're all mad and we'll stab you as soon as look at you, but then also, we're meant to be these really reserved kind of people who live in crofts and all that kind of thing, and don't really speak to people that much, or when we do, it's very much just very, I don't know, kind of short and sharp with people, that kind of thing. But it's I don't think the only stereotype that really holds true now is rampant alcoholism, heroin addiction, and I suppose there's still an element of hooliganism sort of going around. But
I was child of the 80s and 90s and everything. Was there a stereotype about heroin use in Scotland before Train Spotting?
I don't suppose it was international.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Gotcha. Yeah.
But I mean, again, when did that come out? 96 or something like that.
Something. Yeah. 95, 96, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was 9 or something, so I don't really.
Boy.
I don't really remember what the stereotypes about heroin were before that. But I can imagine probably. I don't really know when the heroin thing became such a big issue. I don't know when that sort of happened. Really, I mean, I'm going to guess the mid 80s or something like that.
That seemed to be at least as far as the media was concerned, that seemed to be the apex of drug problems worldwide. I mean, the 80s was like the crack epidemic here, and like the cocaine cowboys down in Florida, and all the other crazy stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised. That whole era was just so like, Miami Vice and serial killers and everything. It was a really weird time to grow up as a kid with those going on. Where I was like, oh my God, this is like, we're living in like terribleness all the time. And I guess some things never change.
I was going to say that sounds just like now, really.
Yeah. It's just a different kind, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was because there was, this is a morbid way to look at it, obviously, but you had, like I said, Miami Vice and like chasing the serial killer. There's sort of a sense of adventure to it at the same time, sort of an action movie, sort of mystery excitement. These days, there's no sense of adventure. There's just guilt and misery,
Yeah. It seemed to me, about 10 years ago, the things that seemed dangerous and scary were things that were genuinely dangerous and scary, like physically.
Yeah.
They were, it was terrorism, and it's things are going to explode, and nuclear war and all these kinds of things. Now it's more, it's all psychological, and
yes,
it's more of an intangible threat than it used to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the terrorism thing was sort of like the bridging event, because you had a physical threat combined with ideology, and there's not much of an ideology behind, say, drug addiction or a serial killer. There's not really any gray area there over motivation. It's just like, this is a bad thing for the most part, or addiction is bad. And then as time has gone,
it's quite difficult to spin it against one side or the other as well.
Yeah. I mean, the addiction part, you could see it as, you've got the pushers and the addicts, and there's there's a a difference there. You could look for a sort of a moral division between the person that's imposing the problem onto somebody who doesn't have any control over it. But even then, you can sort of draw the line and say, here's where it is. But yeah, ever since 9/11 and everything else, it's kind of bizarre. It's like, it feels more, and again, maybe this is just my old man cynicism at this point, or reading CNN every night, but it just feels more downer now than it did before. And that's, I know that's saying something after 9/11, because, kids today might not remember, but I remember the time before 9/11. I remember the time before the internet. And there is a distinct, terrible change that took place after 9/11 in the world, psychically and otherwise. And
I mean, not to sort of downplay 9/11, obviously, but it was exciting. It was. I don't mean that in a positive way, obviously.
No, right.
It was just kind of like, oh my god, you just couldn't comprehend what had happened. Whereas now everything sort of right at you, at your fingertips, and yet so detached from anything that's actually, relative to your own life.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
flicking through your phone, going, "Oh, the Gulf of Mexico's on fire." Oh.
Well, I was just
next.
I was just about to bring. Well, I mean, like I say again, there was a very clear cut. This is good. This is bad. And there's a one direction way to deal with this problem, kind of thing. Whereas, now everything is just so word salad and or attempted at nuance or quasi academic and yada yada yada. I was going to say about the whole Gulf of Mexico thing. I was on Sinatra's the AAA stream the other day, and I just sort of wondered out loud. I don't think I've ever seen something that was occurring in real life that my brain told me was a special effect like that since 9/11. Because 9/11, like I remember, I've told this story before, but like the day it happened, I was visiting home from college. And I was sleeping in my old bedroom, but my old bedroom had been sort of cleared out and turned into a sewing room at that point. And so I was sleeping on an air mattress, which wasn't very comfortable. But anyway, so I'm sleeping in there, and then my door opens, and my mom's standing there still in her nightgown. And she is as, you know that phrase, someone's so shocked they turn white as a sheet kind of thing?
Yeah.
That both the her look and just the way that her face was just an absolute, like, astonishment. Right. Just this blank astonishment. I sat up and I looked at her and I said, "What's wrong?" And she just said, in like the most ghostly voice, she just said, "They blew up the Trade Center and the Pentagon." And my very first words out of my mouth, I said, "Well, it took them long enough." And it wasn't meant to be funny or anything, but it was just sort of because at that time, terrorist acts taking place in the world outside of the U.S. were a relatively common event. Now, at that moment, I didn't know the extent of what they did, because when I thought they blew up the World Trade Center, I was thinking back to 93, where they like set off a bomb in the parking garage, that kind of thing. Yeah. It wasn't until I walked out in the living room, and as I walked in the living room, the TV was on, is the moment the first tower fell. It was like, you couldn't have timed it worse, psychologically speaking. I walk in the room and I see the camera on the Twin Towers, and just the first one starts collapsing. And that's when my mind was like, what movie are we watching? Right. Yeah. And real quick, in human form, thank you so much. Y'all Kada. Y'all Kada. Isn't that what they call the hillbillies now or something? Yes, in human form, or Formy, as I like to call him, does a YouTube channel which he does social criticism and psychology, as you can read right there. If you're interested in true crime or analysis of society in general, go check out his channel. This has been a technically paid advertisement. Thanks, Formy. But yeah, no, the Gulf of Mexico thing. When I first saw that, my brain said, "What movie? Or like, is this from the next Godzilla movie or something, right? Or Pacific Rim or whatever?" And they're just like, "No, really, the ocean's on fire." I'm like, "Duh!"
I mean, even the sentence doesn't sound plausible at all. Mm-hmm. Ocean, water is on fire. I mean, what?
Yes. But yeah, I just. I don't know, like I cover all this stuff all the time about what's going on in quasi society, academia, and everything, and it's just so. I mean, people complain about it all the time, and we've complained about it before. It's like, can we not just agree to disagree and part as friends anymore? Is that impossible to do?
Can we not try and find, mutual understanding? No.
Or just say, okay, on this subject, we don't agree. I mean, all right, you don't think Hunt for Red October is the greatest film ever made. I'm not going to lash you to a cross for it. Just whatever, that kind of thing. I mean, you're wrong, but it doesn't matter.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I couldn't possibly comment. Is that worse?
Wait. I was under the impression that
we don't get forced to watch every Sean Connery movie ever.
Oh, dang! I was just about to say, isn't it like national pastime to watch Sean Connery movie?
I have seen him in Anna Karenina, though.
Did you see A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
I think I did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you really shouldn't have.
I think I went to the cinema to see that as well.
What about Zardoz?
No.
Well, thank God for that. No. Yeah, exactly. Right when I say Zardoz, so does Muggered say Zardoz. Yeah. Giant talking stonehead looking for penises and things. It was a time, man. You know that Sean Connery was offered the role of Morpheus in The Matrix.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was offered that. He turned it down because he didn't understand the material. Right. Okay, no, but this is a true story. So he was offered the role of Morpheus in The Matrix. He turned it down because he didn't understand it. And then he saw how The Matrix just went kaboom, right? And he's like, oh my God. And so then the next project that came along that was some kind of sci-fi weird thing, he didn't understand it, but he said yes on reflex because of The Matrix. You know what that was? League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And it bombed.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. It's really kind of sad. It's like, damn. Imagine Sean Connery as Morpheus. That'd be great. I think somebody actually did do a deep fake or something where they replaced Sean Connery because I think Neo was supposed to be Will Smith and Sean Connery is supposed to be Morpheus in the original casting attempts. So
that's just weird to think about.
I know that's like the whole alternate reality. You step through a wormhole and come out in another Earth and The Matrix starring Will Smith and Sean Connery. Like, oh my God. But
that's an interesting pairing, actually.
Uh-huh. It's always interesting to me, just how little small decisions are one thing off. Tom Selleck was supposed to be Indiana Jones, and he just couldn't do it, and also be Magnum PI, so they gave it to Harrison Ford, that kind of stuff.
See, this is I mean, I know you're into your movies and stuff like that, so
yeah, obviously
you've probably thought about these things a lot. But I mean, you've just kind of blown my mind already.
Yeah, but I mean, it's same things in real life. I think about this old anecdote. I don't even know if I told this story before, but many moons ago, when I first moved into my first apartment away from home after college, first job, living on my own for sure, and everything. I spent 2 years doing nothing but working and saving my money. I was living like an absolute hermit. And since all the friends I made in college were miles and miles and miles and miles away, I didn't have a way to contact them or spend time with them or anything, I was basically just a no social life hermit. But so I've spent about 2 years just working, establishing a nest egg, that kind of stuff. And then one day I decided I can't do this anymore. I need to find something else to do. And the only social activity I had any experience with in college was doing the live action role playing stuff for Vampire the Masquerade. And I figured there's got to be a game here. There's got to be somebody running a game here somewhere like that. And I found one. And I contacted the people and I got the time and the place. And so I go out to this, they do it on this, they did it on this school campus thing at night. And I go out there in a 3-piece suit and a cane. And I go to the park or whatever they say they're going to be at. And I sit there for an hour and there's nobody there. Absolutely nobody there. And I'm thinking, did I get the time wrong? Did I get the place wrong? I don't know this area. It's dark. I'm kind of, and so after I was like, I give up. this was a bad idea. So I start walking back towards, because I don't drive to the bus stop or whatever, hoping I could find a bus that late at night. And as I'm walking along, I see a guy, a nerdy looking guy in a trench coat carrying a green book with a rose on it. And I'm like, I point at him and say, vampire? He's like, yeah. I'm like, where's the game? I'm like, oh, it's not over here? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, they must have gone back to the usual spot. I'm like, where's that? If I hadn't run into that guy, I would have gone home, probably never would have tried it again. You know? And then I spent the next 10 years with that group doing that stuff and having the craziest, you know, sort of I can't imagine what my life or what my social life would have been now if I hadn't like run into that guy at that moment and I hadn't passed him by and got up from that bench and walked, you know, that whole thing. It's like those little moments in life where it's like just one little variance and everything would have gone a completely different direction. You ever have one of those?
Sure. I'm trying to think one that's not entirely miserable.
Well, I mean, even those too. I mean, like, God, there's so many instances where I'm just like, I really, really wish I had not met that girl, you know, or not under those circumstances, or not at that moment, because then I wouldn't have thrown myself into a 6 months or a year of just eventual misery, you know, that kind of thing. And you try to chalk that up to like, okay, lesson learned, I won't do that again. But all the same, it's like, that's a lesson I didn't need to learn, you know?
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that I'm not glad that, you know, things sort of turned out the way they did or anything like that. But I was more meaning, you just said, did you have any moments sort of like that? And the first thing I was thinking of, well, when my gran died,
yeah,
I didn't want to just start going, you know, and everything sort of miserable that happens, you know, around about that. Because that's always the first one that pops into my mind. I suppose there was one actually, which it's a reasonably well, does it even have a positive ending? I suppose it does. But yeah, I was called up by a friend of mine who was in a band. So she was the singer and her partner was the bass player. And they called me up and said, hey, do you want to join the band for a while as a session player? Because we've got a tour of the States booked.
Wow.
And instead of going, what happened to your old band? I said, yeah, sure.
Right. Yeah.
So I probably should have asked that question, but even so, you know, I mean, I was 24 or something like that. Even so, I probably wouldn't have turned it down, because how often does that kind of opportunity arise?
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, I could spend probably an hour or two talking about all the stupid things that happened when we were in the States. But it was an absolute disaster, basically from day one, including almost dying at one point in a vehicular accident. But everybody was fine. No one was actually hurt, but you know, it could have been a lot worse if things were slightly different. And then at the end of all that, you know, I came back to Scotland and went, you know what, maybe being a musician isn't what I want to do after all. And I decided to go into teaching instead. But then I'm sure I've told you how that went.
Yeah, I have a whole familiar with the matter. The very first familiar with the matter on my playlist was interviewing Tailed about the education in Scotland and being a teacher and all that stuff.
Yeah, where my username came from.
Yeah, exactly. Are terrible or at least ill-conceived life events worth it if there's a story to be had after the fact?
Well, as I say, and as you kind of mentioned, it doesn't really matter if the thing itself was good or bad, so long as you're able to look back and go, well, I'm glad that it happened because it's meant that, you know, I've ended up where I am now, or, you know, it meant that I didn't go down a particular path, which I probably would have regretted or that. But yeah, I laugh about all these stories now. Even when I'm telling the story about my grand dying and everything that sort of happened after that, like a domino effect. You know, I slightly morbid sense of humor anyway, so I'll throw in jokes and everything about that, about myself. So it's not like I look upon those things and go, "Oh, that was terrible," and if you get a good story out of it, there are, so long as other people sort of can be entertained by that story as well. Is it worth it? I don't really know. I don't really know how you put, that kind of judgment on those things. But so long as you're aware of the benefits or the positives that came out of it, or and you don't sort of think about what could have been too much.
Yeah, I always had this sensation, and maybe I'm wrong because I'm no mind reader or anything. I always had the sensation that the majority of people just do things in life without a whole lot of reflection on why they did it, or if they should have, or at least say, okay, this bad thing happened. Let me reflect on, okay, how much of this was my fault versus how much of this was the other person's fault. Try to come away with things with at least the silver lining that you have a little bit more insight into yourself or the world, or because part of me just thinks, and this is just because I don't know, the internet or something, that a lot of people just barrel through life without even looking backwards for a second and just keep stumbumbling over themselves into chaos and disaster.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a culture, especially among younger people these days, especially where they don't take any responsibility for their actions whatsoever, and it's always someone else's fault. And I still work with kids and young people and everything, and I keep bringing up whenever they say, "Oh, but it was this," or but, and I'm always like, no, not interested. What could you have done differently in that situation? That's what I always say. You need to take responsibility. Okay, it maybe wasn't entirely your fault, but did you actually, maybe have some input into this? Could you have walked away from the situation?
Yeah.
There's an expression. If you run with the crows, you'll be shot with the crows. That sort of thing. So mind the company you keep, all that kind of stuff.
It's
all these old adages and stuff like that. They still hold weight, but I think they're more important now than they've ever been.
Yeah, it's almost never the case that any bad event in your life is 100% somebody else's fault. I mean, short of like lightning striking your house or some crazy thing where it's just like completely blindsided, which does happen. Don't get me wrong, that does happen. Or like I think about the first time, which is bad enough. The first time the girl I was involved with / living with left me for my best friend, because it happened a second time later on down the line. Anyway, with a different girl and a different friend, and I as far as I could tell, there were no warning signs, right? There was nothing to tell me that this was going to happen, and certainly nothing going to tell me that it was going to happen from two people I trusted. So I spent way too much time, because this is before I was on my anti-anxiety medication, and my brain was not shutting off, like going over, okay, what did I do wrong? Either what did I do wrong in the relationship, or what did I do wrong in not seeing what the problem was, or that there was a problem before it happened, so I don't end up in this misery again at some point. Which, of course, it happened again because trust issues. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I learned really quick, and I've always been hard on myself to begin with, but it's sort of like I'm not a passive actor in my own life. I've got to at least start from that position when it comes to things that happen or situations that I find myself in, and trying to figure out like the whys and the wherefores after. So my first position is, okay, you're the one common denominator to all of this. Where did you fall into this chain of events? And then when you can be honest about that, you can sort of measure like, okay, I was lied to, I trusted someone, I was betrayed. Okay, that's on them. But was there something that you just sort of like brushed to the side beforehand that could have told you that there was something to be done? That kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just kind of babbling.
Yeah, I do think that one can go kind of too far the other way. Where you then go, well, everything's my fault then.
Yeah, sure.
Which, sometimes, there are things that you do that, are, if not 100% your fault, then 99% your fault.
Sure.
And,
Yes.
maybe someone else could have intervened or whatever. But most of the time, you have to try and look at things as objectively as possible. And I realize that some people, they will just put their head down and go, no, it was none of it was my fault, none of it was me. And I actually feel kind of sorry for people like that, because to me, they're going to end up doing the same things over and over and over again, and or maybe not the same exact thing, but whenever anything happens, they're just going to blame other people, and they'll never learn to avoid situations.
Real quick. Thank you, Mike R. Same thing happened to me twice with one friend and once with a different friend. I was even stupid enough to take them both back as friends. I mean, people can change, and, it's not necessarily always the case. Time does heal, or at least gloss over old wounds a bit, depending. I got burned terribly in two different rounds with two different sets of people. And I don't think I've ever been the same since, plus some other stuff on the side. My trust issues are terrible now. I have a very, very hard time connecting with or making friends with people, or thinking that I can rely on people. I mean, the hammer blow, which probably sort of showed me just how callous to the whole thing I'd become, and I've told this story, of course, several times now, is just before the 2016 election. I said on Facebook, the bastion of all terrible decisions, that I wasn't going to vote in the presidential. I wasn't going to vote for Trump. I wasn't going to vote for Hillary. I wasn't going to vote for anybody. I was going to vote in all the local elections and things, but I had no interest in putting my vote behind any of the candidates for president. And my best friend at the time somehow decided to interpret this as, since I wasn't voting for Hillary, therefore I was supporting Trump. And no matter how strenuously, this was just at the beginnings, in my experience at least, of the Trump derangement syndrome type stuff. And my friend was certainly, on reflection, suffering from it. But no matter how calmly I was like, no. I mean, by that logic, I am thus supporting Hillary as much as I'm supporting Trump, because I'm just not. I don't like them for president for different reasons. It didn't matter. I was supporting Trump and everything that Trump was going to do to the country and to healthcare and to women's rights and all, et cetera, et cetera. And she dropped me. I mean, she just like 10-year-long relationship or friendship, and she just dropped me like a bad habit. Everything that, I mean, I was the guy who she'd call at like 3 a.m. in the morning when she was living in Germany or whatever, because she was having a mental breakdown and needed somebody to calm her down. And I never turned her away, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying is that there was this giant raft of evidence between us that I have no notion in my head to do something that would harm you, or that I think that I'm doing this in some way that's putting you under threat. Even though you've already got it wrong in the first place, what do you think I'm doing? But that didn't matter. It was all gone. And the thing that both was comforting but also made me sad at the same time is, after it happened, I wasn't as sad as I knew I should be, because at that point I'd kind of expected people to just sort of like yank the rug out from underneath me, which is a terrible place to be. Don't be like me, kids. You'd like to be like Mike. Don't be like me. And my name's not Mike, but anyway. So that's where I was at with the whole thing. And so now I'm not quite sure where I'm at. Thankfully, I haven't had that dramatic of a thing happen yet in a relationship where I got burned that bad or anything. I'm not looking forward to the next time, but I mean, I know that if that had happened 6 years earlier or something, I would have been just done, But at that point, I was just a bunch of scar tissue, it felt like.
Yeah, I think social media really just amplifies all of this as well. So I do still have a Facebook account, mostly because there's a couple of people that's the only way I can keep in contact with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got pages for my band and things like that I, not that I've had anything to post over the last 18 months or so, but whatever. But yeah, around 2013, basically when I was going to teacher training, we were all told that if you have a Facebook page, to put it on private, so that kids couldn't find you and stuff like that.
Right.
Also because you might get into trouble for something that you've posted. You might,
right.
Not necessarily political, but it was more to do with, if there's pictures of you all drunk and whatever, all that kind of thing, it reflect badly on you, especially if you're applying for a job. And that I sort of went, oh, that's it's a bit sad that is the way that things were going back then, but I kind of understood. Not that I had lots of things on my Facebook page anyway. I literally went through every single photograph, every single post that I'd ever made on Facebook, which at that point, was, I don't know, what are we talking, 5 years worth of stuff. Because I did use it quite a lot when it first sort of appeared. But I also unfollowed everybody, partly because, well, I was doing a very intensive course, so I didn't want to be distracted by sitting on Facebook, just refreshing the timeline and all that kind of stuff all the time. So I kind of missed all that stuff because I never got involved in any sort of political discussions, not really anyway. I did actually run a few campaigns and things, but again, I kept it separate from my private profile. But my only experience that was vaguely similar to yours was, there was this friend of mine who, again, I'd known her for years. We used to work together, and to be fair, we'd kind of fallen out of touch with each other. Not that she lived far away or anything like that, but I mean, she had a kid and everything. I mean, he's grown up now and all that. And we decided. She sent me a message saying, how you doing? Do you want to meet up and catch up and everything? We could go for a walk. And there's been a walk opened up near us, where you have to sort of do it in stages. There's no way it's 100 odd miles along this walk. So we were going to do that over a few months. So we'd meet up once a month and we'd do maybe 10 miles or whatever. And so that's kind of what we were doing. And then one day she said, "Oh, I've done the next section, by the way. I did it with my son because he wanted something to do. So we went out for a walk." I thought, all right, fair enough. I'll let you know when I've caught up with you then, and I'll do the next bit by myself. So that's what I did. And then I messaged her. So this was just before Christmas this year. And I messaged her just saying, "Hey, that's me done the next section of the walk. Just let me know when you want to do the next one. Looking forward to it. Hope you have a nice Christmas," all that kind of thing. Didn't hear anything. And I'd text her just after Christmas as well, saying, "Hope you had a nice Christmas. Just let me know when you want to meet up again, do the next section of the walk." And then months kind of elapsed, and at first I thought, well, it's been Christmas, stuff like that, maybe been busy, and I knew she'd managed to get a job and everything, so I thought, well, she's busy. And then I got a job for a little while, and then I messaged her again saying, "Oh, I just realized that not only have you not replied to me, but you've deleted me as a friend as well."
Oh.
I was just wondering, because I was thinking, what on earth could it have been? What did I say or what did I do? Because I hadn't seen her. By this point, it was getting on for 4 months or something. And she basically said, "Oh, you just take ages to reply to everything." I was like, well, I don't use Facebook every single day, and I'll reply to you within a couple of days on Facebook. And that was why I said, text me about things, because I don't reply on Facebook. And then the next thing was that she says, "Yeah, and your profile, you've hidden everything on your profile from me. I thought we were friends and this kind of stuff." I said, "I don't have anything on my profile. I don't even have a display image or anything. It's not my real name. It's nothing. And yeah, she had a massive wall of text about all these things that she didn't like about me all of a sudden. And where the hell did this come from? And I just replied, "Would you say any of this to my face?"
Yeah.
No reply. So I just think, what is social media doing? Because as I say, that there's no way that any of that would have happened in real life. And I know that, compared to what happened to you, that's nothing. But it's it's part of the same sort of symptom or the same disease or whatever.
Well, I guess it's similar to. I can't say I've had an exact situation like that, but I remember in the early days of quote unquote social media, I'm talking about like IRC chat rooms and things.
Oh yeah.
Part of the, and I've thought a lot about this in the past, and there's been plenty said about it. Part of the danger and also the enjoyment of being online is that you have, for the most part, sort of a sense of anonymity in a way.
Yeah.
There's also a filtering mechanism of you have the time to think about what you're going to type out and say before you do it, conceivably. I mean, not everybody does so.
Evidently not.
But also, it's the negative space in the distance between you and the other person where your imagination and your ego sort of pushes to fill in the cracks, right? And so if you're not careful, like on IRC chat rooms, your sense of yourself or your sense of the person you're seeing text from on the other side, you're building an image of who that is, and you're also extending yourself or what you think of yourself through the machine to this image of this other person. But they're doing the exact same thing, except that you don't know what their image is compared to yours, but you're both doing it. You know what I mean? You're both creating your own pocket reality between two specific people with two specific perspectives. And so that's what, unfortunately, Facebook and Twitter and all these other things are, is that the more time you spend, the more sort of you become, I think of it, and I know I'm not going all over the place with the analogies and things. Did you ever hear that story of that lady who became so fat and she never left her couch that when they finally had to get her out of her house to take her to the doctor, they couldn't remove her from the couch because she had grown into the threads of the fabric?
Yeah, I did hear that story.
Yeah. And I know it's a disgusting and terrible image to think of, but that's kind of how I see social media and people spending too much time on it, either growing into the couch, and it becomes one and the same. And then, of course, your ego and your sense of self, your identity, your fragility, all of it goes into this thing. And then you sort of see the mechanisms of the social media become what's going on in your own brain. So if you're not getting back to her right away, it's almost like you're just staring at her from across the room and actively ignoring her, even though it's not what's happening.
Yeah, it's what amazes me is, it was, you kind of picked up on it there a little bit, was the reason I used to like, going on message boards and all that kind of stuff was because, yes, you could have a discussion with somebody and you would think out what it was that you were going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it was long form, so it's slightly different to Twitter and everything, where you're 240 characters or 280, whatever it is. That's part of the problem, is that everything's just distilled down to bite-sized chunks now. But for example, I don't know if you saw earlier in the week, there was all these statues being torn down in Canada.
Yes. Queen Victoria, I think it was.
Yeah, Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
Like the things that they were protesting about had anything to do with Queen Elizabeth,
right,
way before her time. But anyway, so I made a joke. I said, I fully expect a formal apology from Justin Trudeau to the mob.
Yes.
So I mean,
it's not a joke, though. It's not. The thing is that it'd be great if that was a joke, but you can totally see that happening these days.
Well, that was, yeah. I mean, I was being a little bit cheeky because because it's quite possible that will happen.
Yeah.
But that was part of it. But they pretty much either people just said, "Ha, that's funny," or they just gave it a like or whatever. But the amount of people that said things like, "Wouldn't think a Scotsman would stand against colonial opposition to the English," and then things like, what was the other one? Lol, imagine being Scottish and defending tearing down statues of the Queen. Fucking embarrassing. And I thought, what on earth?
Yeah.
In my tweet said, even vaguely hinted at anything to do with my politics on the monarchy or on iconoclasm or anything like that. All it was Canadians are cucks and apologize for everything. That's the joke. That was all the joke was. And yet all these people are going, I know exactly what your politics are, and you should be ashamed to be Scottish and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
because it's either you're one thing or the other. Whenever I say to people, I don't agree with such and such a policy by the SNP, and they're like, "Oh, you fucking Tory!" Like, oh yeah, because for people that talk about being non-binary and everything like that, they don't half think in binaries. Jeez.
Yeah, I just had that yesterday or whatever, where it's just this kind, and this happens way more often than obviously I think it should. Is the someone starting out a sentence like, "So what you're saying is," or "Are you saying that?" or something like, "Well, no, did I?"
Yeah, they're doing the Kathy Newman, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just like, now, obviously, sometimes text is not the most efficient way, and especially 240 characters. And by the way, I hate Twitter and social media in general because God knows my attention span has been slaughtered over the last 10 years. But either way, it's not always the most efficient way to get across an idea in that limited sense of things. There's no inflection in text sometimes. People, you can forgive people for sort of like having to, or for the sake of efficiency or speed, read between the lines for some things. But then there's just like, your imagination goes wild. And like you say, it always has to be either you're for something or you're against me. And that's just how it is. And I just, some people have seen this on my Twitter, but there was this article that was posted. It showed a picture of the lady that stood away from the podium when the national anthem was being sung at the Olympics, or the Olympic trials, sorry. And the opinion piece said, "For Black Americans in particular, the act of complaint should rightly be seen as a remarkable expression of commitment to the belief in a better society." And I just, this was the opinion piece says, the opinion, the fourth is for complainers. And I said, opinion, the fourth is for celebrating the fact that ridiculous and divisive nonsense like this can be written and published freely and be open to criticism and debate without the fear of government reprisal upon either side. And then somebody comes, how is this editorial ridiculous? And I said, well, elevating the act of complaining to a particular significance on the basis of skin color seems ridiculous and divisive to me. And their next thing was, are you saying that you think that Black people don't have any more reason to complain than white people?
Oh, fuck.
And I said, and I'll end it here. I said, and it went on for a while, but I said, no, I'm saying that skin color is an irrelevancy when assessing the value of someone's complaint. It's the content of the complaint, not the color of the complainant, that matters. But you encounter that all the time, where you like make a statement that seems, and don't get me wrong, like I said, if I say something or I put something online and somebody comes back with a legitimate question, like they're trying to like figure it out, because you don't always necessarily get across everything. It's like, okay, well, let me clarify. And in that case, I did. And I would have been happy to do otherwise, but there was an accusation going on there. There wasn't there wasn't a question for clarity. That was an accusation of, oh, I've already determined where your mind is at.
Yeah,
and
I don't know. Yeah,
now? Do you think that that's just? Is that an artifact of the same kind of instant gratification, short attention span, need an answer now kind of thing that social media has imparted on us, or is that just another reflection of just how divided and partisan so many people have become, or is it a I guess maybe it's a combination. I don't know.
It probably is, because I remember like my mum, she uses Facebook still, and proper boomer stuff. She posts pictures of crafts and things that she makes, and watches cat videos and all that kind of stuff. And she'll always say to me, I can't believe how horrible people are in the comments for everything. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's something completely banal or something completely benign, that's not political in any way, and yet there are people underneath going, oh, blah blah blah, this is terrible because of whatever. No one has anything nice to say anymore, really. Was the way that she put it. And also she was going on about sort of conspiracy theorists and all this kind of stuff, and she said, are there more conspiracy theorists now, or are they just more visible because of social media? But I've got to the point where I've convinced her just not to actually post things on Facebook outside of her own sort of timeline. If she posts our pictures and things like that, that's fine. But I'm saying don't get involved with discussions on social media. It never leads to anything good. And that's the way that I treat Twitter now as well. I just wind people up. I really, really do just wind people up. But going back to what you were sort of saying about people saying, so what you're saying is, I mean, the guy blocked me after I didn't rise to any of the bait that he put out for me. But yeah, after that thing to do with Justin Trudeau, I mean, as I say, he blocked me, so I can't quite remember what it was he said. But he said something along the lines of, imagine being Scottish and imagine calling yourself Scottish and not supporting the removal of these statues and all that kind of stuff. And I said, imagine missing the joke this hard. So I explained the joke, and he just went, well, it was a shit joke. And I went, well, obviously you're going to find it a shit joke because I had to explain it to you.
Right, yeah.
But he was just like, just try again, And I was like, no, I don't try and appease humorless pricks like you.
Yeah.
This is one of the only times I've ever actually sort of got into any kind of dialogue. I don't even know you could really call it that, but I usually just post something and then just walk away and just watch everything roll in.
Yeah.
But the guy ended up going through all my tweets and stuff like that, which was ridiculous. But anyway, he said, after saying, try again, make another joke sort of thing, he said, well, maybe you should look into these things before making a joke about it because it's about dead children. And I said, I know it's about dead children. I don't care. I would still make a joke about dead children because that's just who I am. And you're like, you're a horrible person. I'm like, yes, I am. And all this kind of thing. But he was like, so you're saying that dead children are funny? And I was like, that was the bit that kind of got me. Like, so you're saying that,
So you're saying, yeah.
So you're saying that dead children are funny. I was like, how did we get here? How did we get from I'm making a joke about Canadians apologizing all the time to you find the idea of dead children funny?
Yeah.
I mean, that's to me, that's just like a microcosm of the entire thing of social media. Somebody says something, trying to be amusing or just kind of a throwaway comment, and then the next thing you know, you've got all these people jumping on them going, oh, you're a horrendous person, because obviously I am the, I'm the one who decides. I'm the arbiter of moral goodness and everything. It's like, just block me and move on, right?
Yeah, I always wonder, and I've wanted this for years, and before YouTube and all this other stuff, just like people who like had been friends of mine at the time and everything, and there was a slow rolling into sort of the judgmental social justice stuff, and and whether it's them or anybody else in that same vein, I always think, how do you move through the world in real life? Like what is it like to be in your head as you're just walking down the street and just seeing people around? I remember I got into this before everything fell apart. I got into this sort of like discussion with a friend of mine who was lamenting cultural appropriation. And it was during the first round, because there's been several now, the first round of J.K. Rowling scandals where she used Native American folklore in one of her books, and people were going batshit over the fact, well, she's not actually Native American, and how dare she misconstrue these legends, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I made a joke, or I asked a question of a friend, because I was curious to find out what they would say. I said, okay, well, okay, because they were saying, I was like, oh, so what should J.K. Rowling have done, right? I mean, in a perfect world, if you're complaining about her having done this, and I think it would be too far afield to say no one should ever be allowed to write anything that involves characters or situations outside of their own personal experience, because then how do you write fiction, right?
Yeah,
I think that'd be probably too far afield, and I kind of got them to agree with me on that. I'm like, okay, so in a perfect world, what should J.K. Rowling have done prior to publishing this book that would have satisfied you? Or at least, given you pause? And they were like, oh, she should have consulted with the experts first to have a full understanding of what it was that she was going to be using, and talk to, Native American scholars and da-da-da. And I was like, okay. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that J.K. Rowling went and spent 2 months, right? 2 months in constant communication and or study on the basis of the guidance of Native American scholars, Native American folklore scholars, and everything. And she just went to the net. She's got notes. There's no doubt at all that she put the time in. Okay. And the book comes out exactly the same as it is. What then? Well, it'd still be wrong because, and I was like, oh God. And I was like, there's just no way around. Similar to that, somebody else who's complaining about cultural, I don't know why I'm on this cultural appropriation thing. It's just one of those things where it's just like, how does this work in real life? I think it was something like some white guy was wearing a reggae shirt or something, and that was not permissible, and da 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 da. And so I said, well, okay, what would happen if you saw me, Joe average white guy? You saw me walking down the street with a Native American Thunderbird tattoo on my forearm. Okay. Now, and just for the sake of argument, there's no way that I could have any, genetic familial connection to Native American tribes. Let's just stipulate to that for the sake of not going anywhere. What would you do if you saw me like that? Because they were so adamant and almost militant about how terrible it was for this cultural appropriation and everything. But they still had that sort of exception, like they should have done the research or something like that. And they said, well, it would depend on why you have it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So right. You see me walking down the street with a Native American Thunderbird tattoo on my arm. Are you going to interrogate me on the street to see if I pass muster with having this thing that I can't remove from my arm? How does this work in real life? I ask that question all the time on my TEDx's and other things. People talking all these high-minded terms about things, and I'm always like, okay, but what do you actually do?
Yeah. What practical use or what practical ways of assessing these things do you have? Right, and this is something, and just why not? Since we're all over the place anyway, the whole CRT thing right now. I've gotten into these 3 or 4 different conversations, if you want to call them that, where someone says, "Does anybody have?" Like just the other week, somebody said, "Does anybody actually have an example of where CRT is actually being practiced in schools?" And I was like, "Oh, madam, I have a playlist." And I sent her one video I recently did with a school in Minnesota that was implementing racial affinity groups, and saying, here you go, here's an element of CRT being actually implemented into a school. And they said, well, that's not actually CRT. Well, that's what they do, language games. They get bogged down with the whole, well, that's not actually the thing that you say it is. So I usually say to them, what would you call this thing? So if I sent them your video, I'd say, what would you call this thing that's being taught? Right, okay, now I'll tell you why I have a problem with the thing that you have now named.
Well, but here's the one out I might give them. Okay, and this is the one thing where I think sort of belief versus practice is where the some of the argument may be residing within. Now, I am not a CRT scholar. Okay, I do not know the actual academia of CRT. Or for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, critical race theory. I'm sure most people know. But anyway,
Not cathode ray tubes.
Right. Yeah, cathode ray tubes, completely different thing. Maybe. I mean, they both cause brain damage. But anyway, so I haven't read the papers, the actual stuff from the 70s, all the stuff that sort of like is the foundation academically of this stuff. So someone could legitimately tell me, here's the actual published paper on what CRT is, and here's how this doesn't match. And I'm like, okay. You know, I would be, I'm willing to stipulate that actually exists, that somebody could show me, here's what's happening in this school, this is what CRT says, these things don't match. And I'd be like, okay, now let me tell you about the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Because the name says the thing, therefore the thing must be the thing in practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible that the people that I've been arguing with a little bit are correct, that what Robin DiAngelo is saying is not actually CRT, that what this person's doing in this school isn't actually CRT. I'm like, okay, but do you or do you not have a problem with what is being implemented in the school or in the corporation or what is being preached by this person? Because if you do, they are couching it in the language that you say they should not be doing so. So regardless of whether or not you think this is CRT, they're calling it that. These are outgrowths of what's being taught. I've listened to the professionals that call themselves professionals saying this. So what does it matter if the official definition is X when the practice is Y? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like that whole, what is feminism thing. That's not real. Or no true Scotsman.
I was waiting on that. I was either, if you weren't going to say it, I was going to say it. But yeah, that's what they do. They just change what the definition is. Well, that isn't CRT. And I'm like, well, I don't care what you want to call it. I still disagree with it, and it does come under the. It's the thing. Sometimes it's not CRT. Sometimes it's just critical theory.
Sure,
because it can be applied. It's a methodology.
Yes,
the critical way of looking at the world. That's critical with a capital C, for because it's not actually critical. It's
yes,
well, like critical TM. Yeah, I don't know if you've read Cynical Theories, the James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose book. Which
I have not read the book. No, I follow James on Twitter, but I'm not much of a reader these days.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's actually pretty good, and the way that it breaks everything down, and delves into the history of it and everything. It did reading that did make me come to the conclusion that there is no point in trying to argue with people on this.
Yeah.
What you need to do really is essentially warn people, other people, of what it is and what the end goals are.
Yes.
And that is why usually when I have discussions with people about this, I bring up the Jordan Peterson question of, well, what is the end of this, and how do you know when you've gone too far?
Right.
What does that look like? You need to, you can't, well, and obviously they don't want to say, because they'll just keep on going forever. And a lot of the time it's just a self-perpetuating thing as well, because the people that are involved in it are making bank from all this. It was like when I went to that, hate crime consultation thing where they were wanting to expand the definition of hate crime and all this kind of stuff. Pretty much everybody except for me and a couple others were there either because they were activists or because they were working in that field. They were equalities officers, they were inclusivity, they were all that kind of thing, obviously they want to perpetuate these things because it benefits them.
It's their job. It's their industry.
Their job. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, they don't want to just go, well, that's it. We've all got equality now. I guess we'll shut up shop. Obviously, they don't want to do that. They go, well, we've got a good thing going. Not only are they making money from it, that means that they're holding the power. They're holding the cards.
Yeah.
They're able to sway politicians and the people that make the big decisions at the end of the day. Which is why at one point over here anyway, I think it was the Equalities Minister came out and said, yeah, we're going to stop having Stonewall come into our meetings and dictating what policy should be. And it was mostly because the Equalities, whatever it was, ministry or office or whatever, was paying Stonewall. And they went, well, because of budget cuts and stuff like that, we're no longer going to be sort of supporting Stonewall financially. And obviously they just went, Ree! Because they're like, oh, it's because you're, not for equality and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that they weren't going to implement anything that they were saying. It was suddenly just, we don't want to pay you for it. And obviously they just went, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world because we're losing money. But that's really the only thing you can do is we need to have some kind of movement where instead of trying to argue with the people, because the other thing is they just run rings around people with their word games.
Yes.
Because whatever you say, they'll go, that's not CRT, or that's not feminism, or that's not it. Because we've just changed what the definition of that is. Because in their worldview, nothing means anything anyway. That there is no there's no definitive definition for anything. So it's so open-ended that they just need to go, that doesn't fit this exact description of CRT, therefore it doesn't count at all. It's the postmodernist way of looking at things. So instead of wasting a lot of time trying to combat that stuff, really you just need to be pointing out the dangers to the people who are either asleep to the whole thing happening or are they're wanting to do something about it, but they don't know what to do about it, essentially. And so if enough people kind of lobbied the politicians and stuff like that and said, look, we really, really, really don't want this, to hell with being called a racist and all that kind of stuff. I've got past that. I really don't care. If they want to call me a racist, according to their definition, I am a racist. Because we are all racist. Yes. Everybody is racist. So it doesn't mean a damn thing. So just let them call you that. Let them call you sexist and all this kind of stuff. Just say, like, I don't care anymore. But what you're doing is cancer and it needs to be stopped. And it might even get to the point where people say, you know what, I'm not going to bother paying taxes anymore until a mass movement of people just saying, I'm not paying tax until this is sorted out.
Yeah, no, under the anti-racism theology, and I'm going to call it that, racism is the universal constant, and the only difference is whether or not you confess to it or not. That's basically it.
Essentially, yeah.
Literally, the guy who wrote the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, he said the core tenet of racism is denial, the core tenet of anti-racism is confession. I'm like, there you go. That's it's a religion. It's complete. It's a non-magisterium religion.
I can't remember who it was I was talking to recently, and they said, I just find it amazing how. In fact, it was when Poe the person was visiting. She said, I can't believe how many people who were normies are suddenly becoming red-pilled about all this, or becoming aware of it anyway, and they're all saying things like, yeah, do you not think this thing's just like a religion? And we're like, well, yeah, we've been screaming this for about 5 years now. If not longer.
I guess there's only a certain, I don't know, because unlike most religions, I'm not sure that there's any eternal reward for this one except perpetual penance. There's no as far as I can tell, there's no promise of an end positive for this belief system. It's just a constant process of confessing your sin, feeling terrible about yourself, feeling terrible about other people, and giving your money away to books and help things. And
yeah, it's demoralization, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a problem that cannot be defined, therefore it cannot ever be solved, which means the problem solvers can never be unemployed. I just did a stream on Sunday where I looked at careers in diversity, equity, and inclusion with like panelists that were in the industry. And after a half an hour of an hour-long panel discussion, at no point did any of them actually describe what do they do in their job. Like, what is a goal? How do you achieve it? Or when they were asked directly, give me an example of your biggest success so far in your job. And it was all these abstractions like, it really is just giving a voice to the voiceless. I'm like, wow, that's okay. How did you implement that in the company you were working for? Because
by mandatory inclusion seminars.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, and like I say, it's nice work if you can get it. I mean, if I had absolutely no scruples whatsoever, I suppose I could do this with a knowing mind that I was just doling out BS. But the problem is, I guess basically the problem is that I don't think that any of the people on that panel, at least in total, are being insincere in their motivations. I think that 9 times out of 10, when somebody is saying, I'm here to do this and do that and do this, they really do think that what they're doing is a net positive, that their motivations are pure, that they're not there just to make a buck. At least, and maybe it's just me giving the benefit of the doubt to humanity in general, even in times where people are doing terrible things to each other. And of course, et cetera, the road to hell is paved and so on. But I didn't get the sense that any of them were like explicitly in on the grift, if that makes any sense, which is actually, in my mind, more dangerous. I'd rather know that somebody knows that they're talking BS versus somebody who's a true believer that is preaching it as though this is the truth and the right way, and this is the moral barometer, not only for myself, but for the rest of humanity. That's kind of scarier in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really hard to tell the difference who's a grifter and who isn't, and that's, well, I mean, sometimes it's quite obvious, but a lot of the time, yeah, you can't really tell. Usually,
do they have a book to sell, and are they doing book tours? Then at that point, it's kind of like,
well, you'll have seen that image. It's been around a long time now. Big fat black woman standing next to
the whiteboard. Yeah.
It just says, "All white people are racist. Here's my PayPal."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like, that's a grift. That
yes. Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
That's a brazen grift. That one.
If the thing at the end of their speech is, here's my Patreon, here's my Venmo, donate to my nonprofit, so on, quote unquote nonprofit. Remember, guys, they still pull paychecks from nonprofits. Okay. Yeah. Somebody's still making a buck off of that. They may not make a revenue or something or sell a product, but somebody still has a position where they have a paycheck. Yeah. I didn't actually mean to get back on all the political stuff.
Oh, I know, but I suppose in a way it's our bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah. Are we just grifters then too?
Well, I don't make any money from it. So
hey, there you go. Hey, there you go. Yeah, this is a charity.
Udalys made some super chats this evening. By the way, you should keep super chatting Scribe. He's an awesome guy and deserves your money. And I'm not getting a cut, as far as I'm aware.
Tell me something about music. No, I want to get away from all this stuff. Tell me about something that you love. What do you love about music?
Dude, that's deep.
That's the only kind of questions I ask.
Well, you said it was good questions earlier.
Those are also the only kind of questions I ask. See, sure. I can never lose in this game. Yeah, we can keep playing this game all day. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sort of. Well, actually, no. I was about to go a little bit down a anti-postmodernist rant there about music as well, but but so, no, I'll refrain. I'll refrain. Well, I can tell you something good. I've just unprivated the professional suicide song again.
Hey,
So you'll be able to hear that again. If you
I
want.
want to put that in the chat real quick too.
I can put it in the side chat if it's easier.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah, because it's not even got 3,000 views.
What? Oh, we can. Okay, and not even like some kind of artificial pump up thing or something. But guys, when I give you this link, when you have a chance, not right now because you don't want to miss out, but when you get a chance, go take a look. This is a great little cover and a redo of the song. I had to go. I'd never heard the original song like before I heard yours. So I had to go back and listen to the original. Of course, my brain was already attuned to yours. I was like, oh, Tails is way better.
It's funny you should say that. There are quite a few people who knew the original song. They were like, why the hell do I prefer your version? Like, what can I say? It's because I'm a man singing it and not a woman.
Oh!
But yeah, I do. I like the band that did the original one, and I can't help but go back to what we were talking about just a minute ago. But she hasn't released an album since 2016, and so she released a single a few months ago, and I watched the video for it. I don't really pay attention to the lyrics. I mean, despite writing lyrics and stuff like that, I don't. When people say, "Oh, what are the words to such a famous song?" I'm like, I honestly don't know. I don't really listen to singing all that much. I usually just listen to what's happening in the background. But anyway, the music video was about two girls, probably at a Catholic school, I think, and they were, well, secretly lesbian. And it was all kind of, oh my God, and it made me think again, am I just very, very attuned to all this stuff? So do I just see it where it isn't actually there, or is it actually just everywhere? The whole kind of feminism thing, and because I watched the video and I thought, this is woke and I don't like it. It really soured the song for me, to be honest. But anyway, our first three albums are really good, and it's just pop as well, and it's because I'm kind of known for being like the metal guy, and I do listen to a lot of different kind of music and all that, but sometimes you just want to listen to someone that's got a good tune, a good melody. People are always surprised when I say one of my favorite bands are Erasure, because most people only know A Little Respect. But I was brought up on their greatest hits on cassette, so I'm very familiar with most of their original singles, and I think they're great. I really do.
I think, there's a whole bunch of different bands and things I like, but I think the thing that I love the most about music is that, like a particular song, and I know this is cliche and everything, but a particular song just instantly takes me back to the time and the moment and the circumstances or whatever where that song really meant something to me,
Yeah.
And like it's really weird because so back in ye olden days, I was listening. I know this is really stupid. So when I was really getting into Vampire the Masquerade, I started keep bringing it back, but I would play the video.
CRT, so
yeah. So this is VTM, not CRT. There was the computer game for it came out called Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. And I got really into that game because of the characters and everything. And at the time it was, a really great game. And as I was playing the game, I'd have music playing in the background, and I had like a mixed CD, which was kind of a new thing at the time to have a burned CD. And I had two songs on there there was, or sorry, 3 songs that ended up on there. There was Desert Rose by Sting, right? Kiss from a Rose by Seal.
Yeah.
The coincidence that they were on there with the title. And the song called, I think it was called Outlaw by Olive. And these songs, like in combination, in a tune with my sort of, I don't know, enthusiasm or mania over this game or this universe or whatever. Whenever I hear those songs, I'm just taken back to that sort of mindset just immediately. It's like a reflex. It's not even something I consciously. Those notes start playing at the beginning of each song, and I'm just like right back there in that year or that era, what's going on with me, and it's just very bizarre to me. And I know it's not uncommon that music has that effect on people, but that's sort of what I love about music is it has the ability to anchor your emotions in a memory and take you back there, if only for a second, or even in sort of an ephemeral way that I don't think many other things can. Like occasionally, like just out of the blue, I'll get a hint in the air of like my grandfather's cologne someone's wearing somewhere, right? And I instantly think about it's sort of like that. It's that sort of sense memory thing. And music, but music has a much more sort of consistent and seemingly powerful effect on me in that way. Thank you, Juggernaut. Hey, Tailed, your opinion on the latest Sabaton?
Haven't heard it.
Oh, well,
I'll be honest. I'm not a big fan because every single song of theirs sounds the same.
Yeah, I kind of got that way about, and it disappointed me a lot over time. Like Tool. Like I was one of the first kids because I saw their music video for Sober way back in the 90s, right? And I was just, I mean, the imagery alone, but also this, I was just blown away, and I just became like immediate Tool fan. Like, yeah, and I got Undertow, and then I went and bought their little EP they had before that. Was it Insomnia or whatever it was called? Anyway, and all my friends, like I remember my best friend at the time, he says, "You listen to Tool? You mean that industrial shit like Skinny Puppy?" And I was like, "Oh, who's Skinny Puppy?" Like I didn't know what the fuck that was. But I was like the weird one out at that point because I was like the nerdy glasses kid who's like listen to Tool, like yeah. And but I don't know if it's just me, but as their albums went on, I couldn't tell the difference from one song from their latest album versus a song from 4 albums back because they all just kind of. I don't know. I don't know if Maynard just like got into a groove and just liked it and just kept going, but there was some. I don't know, individual personality to a lot of the songs in the first couple of albums, and then everything just kind of mushed together, at least until Perfect Circle, where the side project was completely, you could hear the DNA of Tool in there, but it was its own thing. And listen to me talking like I'm some kind of expert on this shit.
Well, just going back to your kind of talking about it, making you think of certain memories and things like that. I think the difference. I think most people would probably agree with you. You hear certain songs and you're sort of transported back to the first time you heard it, or a specific moment in time, or even just general kind of feelings of nostalgia. I think with me, having been a professional musician for as long, I don't really get that anymore. Usually, whenever I hear a certain song on the radio or on an advert or outside somewhere, most of the time I'll go, we play that in the wedding band, turn it off. I'm more that kind of way now. And even when I listen to, the first band I ever properly got into was Black Sabbath.
I think I have some notion of that.
Yeah. What you mean, the 20-odd minute thing that I did?
Yeah, the medley that you did going over every riff. Yeah, that was great. By the way, guys, if you don't go check that out on Tales, that's on your main channel, isn't it?
It's on the second channel.
Oh, it's on. Okay, so go check out Scottish Feature. Links in the description, and scan over to his Black Sabbath. What'd you call it? Like a
medley.
Yeah, medley. It's amazing. I mean, I'm not even a huge Black Sabbath fan, but I mean, I know all the big ones, and he does a great job, and it's great. And did you get like a shout back from one of the band members or something?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got a shout out from the guitarist.
Yeah, that's right. That was so cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and that's probably why it's my most viewed video on that channel.
Yeah,
it's like 15,000 views or something like that. But yeah, a lot of the time, actually, I was at my parents' last night, and "Hole in the Sky" by Black Sabbath came on the radio, which was, it's not one you hear on the radio all that often, like on rock radio or whatever. I did actually have goosebumps because it's been ages since I've heard that one, and it's such a kick-ass song. So other than Sabbath, and a few, I suppose there are a few other ones, but a lot of the stuff, I think because I teach music as well, like I teach guitar to kids. Sometimes when I hear songs as well, I'll think there will have been a time when I liked the song, and then I've taught it to 15 kids or something like that, and heard them butcher it repeatedly until they get it right. For example, recently it's been Mississippi Queen by Mountain. It's a fairly sort of simple song. I could even demonstrate it for you just now if you want. I have my guitar here plugged in, ready to go.
Oh boy!
So it's because I was teaching, really, but I don't know if you can hear it from there, but
yeah, I can hear it.
Hear that? Yeah. So it's that kind of riff. And then I saw the all that kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, that's an awesome song. Yeah, let's do that song, guys. Come on, we can do this. And I'm all like, yeah. And then, after 3 weeks of some kids sort of going, you kind of lose enthusiasm for certain songs, which is probably why bands like more complicated bands and more technical bands like Megadeth and stuff like that, I've yet to grow tired of them, because having a 13-year-old try to play even one Megadeth riff is a lot more challenging. So trying to get a kid to play, and that's just the riff, that's not even the solo or anything. It's a little bit more challenging. So I haven't sort of fallen out of love with that stuff yet. But there's one guy in the wedding band, and he's into sort of classic rock and everything. And he was in my car once, and I was listening to something, and it was ridiculously heavy. And he just goes, "What is it? What is it you like about this stuff? I just don't get it." And I says, "I don't know. It's just kind of I like heavy riffs. I like a riff that feels like it's throwing you around the place almost, or feels like there's a huge weight on you. I don't know how to explain it." And he just goes, "Oh, I don't understand that at all." And then he would then go on about how he loves AC/DC riffs because and essentially the same kind of idea. He's like,
right.
It's like a smack in the face,
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, it's the same principle. Why? Right. I mean, I'm not saying that he should like what I like, but to say I don't understand how you can like that, and then explain why he likes things in a similar way, that never really made any sense to me.
It goes right back to what we were talking about at the beginning, where it's just like you can't, even when you have common ground, you're sort of not allowed to see it or something. Like you did, it's my way or the highway, even if there's plenty that we could agree upon.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he was saying, "Oh, it's rubbish, you shouldn't be listening to it," or you're an awful person for liking it.
Well, no, it's not a judgment call, but just like there's that it's just such a thin insulating layer of commonality. If you just sort of take a minute to think about what the other person's saying and trying to find that part you can relate to, and not just dismissing it outright as like, I just can't understand or something.
Yeah.
You ever thought of doing like guitar lessons or just like a live concert on your other channel?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that channel, but I did used to have me playing songs on another channel, and it got taken down because of copyright. Essentially, I had me covering various songs. I covered a Kiss song. I covered loads of different stuff, and it was one of those you get 3 strikes, you're out kind of thing. And I got 3 strikes at once, and there was no recourse whatsoever. So I just kind of went, oh well, that's that then. I mean, I still have the videos and stuff, but I can't upload them. Like, I did a video on the second channel during lockdown where I went, right, I'm going to learn some classic solos that I've never bothered to learn before. So I did Stairway to Heaven, for example, the guitar solo for that.
Yes.
Because I'm not a huge Led Zeppelin fan. I don't have any problem with them. It just doesn't really do it for me. And Stairway is obviously, that kind of cliched song. And I mean, I can play sort of the rhythm guitar and stuff. I've never actually sat and, actually done the, that kind of stuff, but correctly. So I thought, right, I'll do that. And so I learned that, and I learned the solo for Smoke on the Water, and I learned Paranoid by Black Sabbath. And, well, I did Beyond the Realms of Death by Judas Priest. And I also did Hotel California, which has got a long solo. And I sat and I worked out note by note, by ear, and spent ages practicing it and everything. Uploaded the whole video, just the solos. I think the other one was Another Brick in the Wall, Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And immediately got this thing saying, you've got all these songs in it, so you won't get any ads on the video. And I thought, well, that's fine. I'm not
sure.
I'm not monetized anyway. But the Hotel California in particular was actually blocked in something like 95% of countries around the world.
Jeez.
Yeah. So the whole video was blocked because of that. And so I had to remove it.
Hotel California?
Like, well, what's the point? What is the point? And I could have argued against it, but
yeah.
I mean, I remember years ago, one of my first parody songs I did on the main channel was Africa by Toto. I changed it to Antifa. Yeah. It was at the time of it was at the time of the Berkeley riots.
Okay.
So I mean, that's how long ago we're talking, and and it was like the fists rained down on Antifa because people went and beat the crap out of them, and so I did that. It was just me and an acoustic guitar. Yet it's still got copyright. It's still got a copyright claim on it. And so I thought, I'm going to fight this because I thought, because it was early days in my YouTube career, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'll chase this up a little bit, and I'll see if I can make something of this. And so I went, this is fair use because it's a parody.
Yes.
I've completely, I've played it in different instruments and everything. Really, I've only used the melody and all this kind of stuff. Also, I'm not making any money from it.
Yep.
And it came back, nope, don't care. The next thing, if you still want to appeal this, you have to, take it to court kind of thing. And
yeah, give your name and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. And if you lose, you could have your channel terminated. And I thought, it's not really worth it.
Right, and that's what they want because they don't want to have to deal with it. Yeah.
Well, exactly, yeah. So that's why I don't put sort of lessons up. I mean, it's slightly different when you're doing lessons because you're playing the music slowly and you're
right.
You're not actually going, here's the full song, and you get a strike or whatever. A live concert, I don't know. I'm not. I don't think I'm very good on my own. I like playing with other people rather than by myself, and I definitely don't have the kind of technological setup for that either. Maybe one day, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, sorry, my brain is leaving me. Oh,
that's okay. We've been going an hour and 3/4.
I know, it's like crazy. And then I just looked at the clock a second. I was like, Jesus, time flies when I'm talking to you. Why do you do that to me?
We'll blame it on time zones somehow.
Thief of Time. Wasn't there a book called Thief of Time or something?
That sounds like a Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, Terry Pratchett or like Harry Potter and the Thief of Time or something, or Indiana Jones and the Thief of Time. That sounds better. I like that.
It is a Discworld novel.
Oh, it is? Okay. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. What do I
Yeah.
know? See,
It's a death.
occasionally I'll be like, boy, I came up with a great title for something. I'll look at it like, oh, it already exists.
I hate when that happens. You go,
Yeah, it's
that's
like,
pretty
guys,
cool.
it's
And
a
then you
great
go, oh.
idea. It's such a great idea. And it's like, nope, it's not there. I still have the title of the book that I will never write, but I have the title of the book. And occasionally I'll look up and make sure that nobody else has used that as a title, and they haven't yet. No one has ever used the name of the book that I'm going to write. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I was going to say, yeah, don't do that, because you know someone just out of spite will do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nope. I mean, I'll tell tailed off the air. I'm not going to tell you guys. I know you guys. You're going to take that and do something with it, or you'll say like, hey, you should write the thing in the stuff, and here's a super chat to do that, and then I'll feel obligated.
Oh yeah. Do you still do that on?
No, I stopped that like 2 years ago now because
that long ago.
At least it was around. It was just around the time that SDA left the show, and it was like the best problem to have in the sense that I had like every show I was doing like three shows a week or something at that point, right? We didn't have a break. There wasn't a weekend off or anything, and or except for Sunday, and every show that I hosted, I would get like 7 to 12 or 15 requests. And each of those had to be its own 1 or 2 paragraph unique little thing. And I fulfilled every single one of them because, I understand the value of people just like throwing me tips. It's like, you don't have to do this. I do this mainly for catharsis and everything. Anybody who throws me $1 or whatever, I really, I understand the value of that. And so when somebody says, hey, here's $5 or $10 or whatever to write me an ad, like I will write you an ad. I will go to, and I just burnt out. Trying to come up with, 7 to 15 individual unique ideas crafted to this person's request between every 48 hours or so. I couldn't handle it after a while. And so it's just like, I got to stop, because I was starting to not enjoy going and hosting shows, because I knew I'd have a whole ton of my brain would be occupied completely on top of work for the next 3 days, trying to figure out, how do I write an ad about a time traveling monkey on Mars? That kind of stuff. It's like, what do I do? And so, like I say, it was victim of my own sort of, but the thing is, I enjoyed it, but it became too much. Yeah. And I didn't know a better way to tell people I appreciate it, but I needed to slow down, because it's like, everybody's so excited and I appreciate that so much. But I was so creative, because, necessity is the mother of invention. I always work better when I've got an assignment or a deadline, or there's something sort of hanging over me that pushes me to create. I'm a very terrible self-starter when it comes to that stuff. Like today when I said, what's your favorite movie? Right. And
all right, I see. So you were sort of prompting me to then.
Yeah, I was using you
for the thumbnail.
Tailed, I used you.
It's fine. I knew you were already.
I manipulated you into sparking my creativity.
No, I did it willingly. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I had your consent. Anyway, yeah. So when I said, "What's your favorite movie?" and then I was like, "Okay," and then that happened, and then I did the thumbnail, I did the little overlay I did here, did the little intro thing. I got like all this stuff done, and that was before I went to hang out with my sister. I was like, "Wow, you see what you can do when you have a motivation scribe? How much stuff you can produce when you just need a little thing, and how stupid it is that you need that to finally do something." I mean, it's both gratifying and frustrating at the same time. It's like, I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't know what to do. I wish I had something to do. I can't think of anything. Hey, why don't you do this thing? Okay. Like, anyway.
Yeah, that's one thing about having a YouTube channel and everything. I used to make fun of Monkey so much.
Mm-hmm.
Or just live streaming and not making videos. I kept going, make videos, you lazy bastard. And then I've basically made 2 shit posts or something on my main channel over the last year and a half, because all I've done is live streams, just like what he used to do.
For me, it was the fact that once the lockdown started and I had to be in front of my home computer and in my room doing work for the first part better part of my day. The idea of then scripting and editing and going through more detail work at home became an extension of my workday.
Yeah.
Rather than being at the office and doing it there and then coming home to a different environment, it became all just munged together into one slog. And just the differential of the geography made it a different experience. But when everything was mushed into one place because of the lockdown, I just wanted to be able to decompress, and just flipping on the live stream and putting on a TEDx to make fun of or whatever just became much more enjoyable for me as a YouTube experience than. And I still like go, I really wish I had that in me to still script and everything else. But most people might not know this who don't actually do YouTube. Even if you love the output of what you're doing, there is some element of the production that you're going to hate. And I hate recording audio and editing the audio in. The stuff that I come up with in the video as I'm putting it together, I always find kind of gratifying, but it's really the recording of my own voice, hating how I sound, trying to put it together and construct it in a way that actually is entertaining for me and hopefully for somebody else. And then just the incremental building of a video in the process is just like, and the problem was once it started feeling like work is when I sort of went, I don't want to start hating this. It's sort of the same thing with the ads. I don't want to hate this. So I need to find another way to do this without bogging myself down. And that's sort of what happened. But anyway, I feel like I'm babbling now and my throat's getting dry.
Yeah, I can do a drink as well now.
Yeah, so I think just for the sake of pragmatism, and we're at about a 2-hour mark here anyway, that's pretty good. I'll call it here. Tale, where can people find you next if they'd like to hear more of your golden tones?
Well, I do a weekly live stream on Wednesdays on the Tailed Feature channel called Regional Variations with my co-hosts Shunobi Yaka and Harry and Gladiv. And we just kind of talk about Brit Bong stuff. We try and avoid the bigger stories of the week because we started during lockdown and stuff, and obviously COVID and BLM were just everywhere. So we just tried to avoid those kinds of things. So we look at some silly stuff and some not so silly stuff, but make it silly as much as possible. And my second channel, as I say, I've got some videos coming out there pretty soon. I've got a few in the works. I've got some ideas, so that's I believe that link is down in the description as well. And you can also follow me on Twitter for my general shit posting.
Yay! Yeah, guys. So links to Taled's main channel, his secondary channel, Scottish Feature, and his Twitter are in the description. Be sure to go check those out. Subscribe if you feel the urge to do so, and be sure to follow him on Twitter for all the fun stuff and otherwise that might come out of Taled's mind. Yeah, dude. We say this too often, but we don't do this often enough, and I really. I was talking earlier about trust issues and everything else, and I've said it before, and just for the sake of the hallmark moment, I am so very glad that you're my friend.
Well, it's the feelings mutual, my friend.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Everybody, thank you. Oh, wait, no questions. Okay, well, Keeverdam, sorry. Okay, you know what? Okay, here. Well, I'll go. You got a couple minutes?
Yeah, I'm not in any hurry.
Okay, all right. We'll give a couple more minutes. Okay, sorry, guys. You're right. I was paying attention to chat off and on, but you're right. I said we'd have question time and things. So Keeverdam says, no questions. No, if you guys have questions, we'll give another couple minutes. I apologize. I kind of got to get carried away with stuff and everything else. So if you guys got any questions for me or Tail real quick, put them in the chat now, and I will pay laser-focused attention on that. Hopefully not everybody just kind of left thinking I was closing up for sure, which I don't blame them if they did. And now I'm going to be hated forever for this. And it's like, how dare you fake us out? Leo Prime says, link to channel. Link to all the channels are in the description of this video. Link to Taled's main, his secondary channel, and his Twitter handle you can find at the top of the description box below. Keeverdam says, it's okay, Scribbles. Okay. I'm sorry, Keeverdam. You're right. I'm glad you were there to catch me, because I did say at the beginning, it's like, yeah, if you have questions for us, and I never really, except for one or two, it's like, that's my bad. I saw there was one question up here earlier that somebody asked. I want to make sure. Okay, it was For the Win. Nil said, has he heard of O'Keefe Music Foundation on YouTube?
I have not.
Okay, well, now you have. And so if there's something to be had there, I suppose you can go check that out. Let's see. Nobody Not Me says, thanks for the entertainment. Bye all. Bye, nobody. Sorry if I faked you out stuff. I'm going to scroll up and make sure to see if any other questions I might have asked. But I
didn't
just
see any. I was kind of keeping an eye on the chat as well.
Yeah, I saw the super chat questions. Let's see. We went over what kind of music Tailed likes. I'm scrolling up real quick. Yeah, a lot of things. A lot of people. One of the great things about mine and Satsu's audiences and everything is that they form such a community amongst themselves that half the time they spend most of the show chit-chatting with each other and talking about things, and they are listening to us, which is perfectly fine. Keeverdam, did you see the fireworks? So yeah, my experience with fireworks yesterday was nearly nothing. And then from a sound sleep at midnight, mortars going off 3 blocks down the road, and me like waking up and thinking the world was ending, and not really getting back to sleep after that. So that was my fireworks experience. I didn't see them so much as I heard them and or felt them, given the reverberations thereof. So yeah, that was my firework experience. In fact, in my area, because of the heat and the dryness of everything, except in very designated areas, fireworks are pretty much illegal. I don't know how stringently they police or scour places to make sure people aren't lighting off fireworks that aren't arranged for or authorized. But yeah, most people don't do it because there have been incidents in the past where it's like, oh, that bottle rocket just burned down that guy's business. Maybe you shouldn't do that anymore, and that kind of stuff. So that kind of thing. Okay. Well, I'll give another couple seconds here in case somebody's got a burning question, but I think I might have just shot everything in the foot by saying, hey guys, it's time to go.
Maybe, but that's fine.
That's all right. Thrashy says, we can do both, Scribe, listen and chat. Hey, I you multitasking elites, go away. I just told you all how my attention span's completely shot by social media and sound bites and things over the last 6 years. I mean, especially with my YouTube, Twittering, and everything else. I just, I remember I used to be able to sit down and read a book for hours and lose time.
I did that last night, actually. Sat down and I read about 150 pages of a novel.
Oh God, I should try to do that again, but I'm such a technophile now. I just can't help myself. All right. Well, guys, if you do have any questions and you're listening to this after the fact, or you find out that we were still going after you already left, I do apologize. Be sure to leave your questions in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them and or relate them to Tail if you are so inclined. Again, Tail, thank you so much for joining me.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate you guys, your attendance, your participation, and your generosity. If you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu, you can find us tonight on Satsu's channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for the Lords of the Night. We will talk about the news of the day, news stories you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, hope you are all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.